Hello again, and welcome to my giant collection. Um, there are no perfect television series. Um, Many of them get very close, but in terms of television and in movies, the more you continue down the same path, the worse it's going to get. I used to live next to a road that had rock trucks constantly going down it, and they don't stop because they get paid by the load essentially. So it's 20 something degrees outside. You're standing there waiting for the bus, and here comes a big rock truck doing 80 miles an hour in a 40-mile-an-hour zone. It gets cold. Um, so there's no perfect way of doing anything. Could you turn around backwards? Yeah, but it's still going to be awful. But you get to go to school and get bullied by a bunch of people. Is this going anywhere? No. So, roundabout timey-wimey way. Starting off with the first thing. I guess 10 again, because let's face it, everybody loves that number. Doctor Who, the series, the entire series, even the older ones. My favorite one is Tom Baker, which I believe is seventh Doctor. It's been a while since I've had to remember the number system. It gets confusing. I like to call him the herpes doctor because there was a big run where you could just see it getting better and then getting worse. And then either way, he was the most iconic, the most enjoyable one up until David Tennant, which I like him better as Doctor Who, but I like the storylines of the Matt Smith era better. But I like to, just pretend that it's really him because let's face it, they're all playing the same exact character, but they're not the same person because it's always different. They're going to throw their own flair like a DC movie. Christopher Eccleston did a great job. To be honest, I'm not quite sure why he wasn't picked up for another season, but I think David Tennant knocked it out of the park, especially the one in the library, the Vashta Narada, and the first time that he meets his wife. That's a powerful episode if you watch nothing else. If you have to explain the show, it's a guy who has a box that travels through space and time, and he's an alien. Just kind of go with that, and I believe you'll have a fun time. Also, another futuristic Futurama. I guess Doctor Who's kind of futuristic, but it's also heavily stuck where it's in the present because it makes for easier storylines. Futurama had to draw everything. I believe they only had 5 or 6 seasons, I think. This is one of the last ones. This is the where it ends with a time loop. Ironically enough, it's all the series was about time and making fun of the world that we're in, but also in the future, like the Simpsons did. But the Simpsons has a longer run because it didn't have to be as intelligent. It didn't have to push certain boundaries. Sure, they'll make you laugh, but this series made you think, and that's what I think is perfect in that aspect of it. One that you don't really have to think about, that 70s show. There's not much analyzing you need to do because certain plot points will be completely ripped apart and just forgotten, like the fact that Donna had a sister and several other things, and then Hyde's dad was a guy who had a drinking problem, also known as the guy from Airplane. But then eventually they just retconned that and just made it he's half black, and it works. But I don't know. That show, I mean, it's literally like what they did in the 70s, where you just kind of go with the show, and if things fall apart, you just write them over like a regular sitcom, like The Simpsons did. They're 10 years old forever. And even though they had 8 seasons, that's not like 1972 to 78 because it ends in 1979 on New Year's night. This is one of my favorite TV shows. If I had to rewatch them all, this show I rewatch a lot more than because I ran the show ground with Futurama and Doctor Who. You can only watch those sometimes, so many times, because when you get into a series and you watch it multiple times, you're going to get bored with certain storylines. This one, it's it's a sitcom that keeps things moving, constantly moving. Mila Kunis is probably the most standout character out of like all of them, in my opinion. A show that got out when it needed to get out. Monk. All 8 seasons are good. Are all episodes good? No. Are they worth watching? Absolutely. As a series as a whole, it's fantastic. The ending is solid and emotional, even for me who has very little emotion 99% of my life. But Monk, I understood it. And like the first couple seasons, to be honest, Monk is an insufferable asshole. And it's really not until they really address that. I mean, they do it over and over in the first couple seasons, but because I've recently rewatched it, it kind of made me more mad at Monk as a character than anything else. And there was all the other people around him that I'm just like, how the hell do you put up with this dick? And then, you understand that he's not strictly a dick. He's protecting himself. And anyway, I can go on and on. Monk, if you've never seen it, this is a fantastic show. Like detective, procedural, not really procedural, but like detective Sherlock Holmesian kind of thing. It's great. Another show kind of like that, NCIS. I know a lot of people would say, this show I think is better than CSI. I know a lot of people say CSI, like it's great and a lot of other things. NCIS, sure, the hacking looks just absolutely fucking stupid. And everything else around it is good because of the ensemble of the people that did it. The storylines were good. Like the my one personal favorite is the one that like the old man shows up and turns himself in because he had killed somebody in the war, and he was just kind of like reliving that. And there was a Japanese guy. It's not in this season. This is season 10. I don't know how many seasons they are. I think they're up like 15 or something. Either way, it's very impressive, especially for a more procedural detective cop show. There are other better shows. I would say Law and Order SVU is a better show. But there's a certain sweet spot that my brain likes about NCIS. The characters, sure, when they start off are kind of derivative, but they're also very interesting. And Mark Harmon is just, he does the Bronson technique. You don't need to say much in order to be intimidating, in order to get your point across. He says a lot without saying a lot, and I respect that. It's also, the Clint Eastwood, variation of that. The man doesn't need to talk. NCIS speaks for itself. If you like the show, or if you're like 50, you might like the show. I don't know why a lot of my friends don't like that show. I had one friend who despised it, and I didn't understand it. I mean, I get it, but he's also an asshole. This is another show he hated. The Big Bang Theory. I own all 12 seasons, and they ran out of shit to do in season 10. Um, this show did not know where it was wanting to go. It's another show like that 70s show that um, kind of like my brain doesn't know exactly where it wants to go, but knows where it needs to go, but it has no idea how to get there. There's a road, but it kind of has to draw it itself. Why Penny doesn't have a last name up until she gets married, I have no idea. Um, why they needed to, while it was still running, to do a prequel to all the things that happened in Sheldon's life, I don't know, because like his mother is great. Lady from Roseanne, she's fantastic in that. Not, I mean, this series, not the other one. Although she's great. I've watched a couple episodes. It's fine. But the dad is more likable. But maybe that's just like the way that Sheldon says in the show, it comes across as worse because that's just how he sees the world. So there's probably a little interplay with that. I enjoyed most of these seasons. I was going to say all the seasons, but I do. But when they started to run into the problem of now we have two kids and the characters really don't know, like the characters started to not know what the hell they wanted to do. And they've changed so much from the beginning that it kind of starts to fall apart. And I'm glad they ended when they did, because they went out on a pretty upstanding thing. You know, spoiler, Penny gets pregnant, and you can watch that entire series and not get mad at it like I do every time I see How I Met Your Mother. The show from the start, the premise makes no sense. And I could go forever about that. He was already a grown man. How is he Bob Saget? And also, why are you telling these terrible stories about your life to your kids for so long? Trying to explain, oh, How I Met Your Mother. And then, like, it's literally like last episode, like, oh, yeah, this is how it ends. By the way, I was really in love with your Aunt Robin the entire time. You watch season 1, you're like, no shit. Do they understand what they were doing? Yes. Did they understand comedy? Because the guy who wrote it did a bunch of stuff back in the day. Grace Under Fire and a lot of other things. Chuck Lorre, I like your work. I legitimately do. But like all TV series, it's hard to keep going. You kind of run into like I said, a wall of just like, a lot of people would say this show had a wall that hit, This is season 9, I believe, where it starts off with him going to the city of New York, and the previous season, which I literally just got done watching, had one of my favorite episodes where Homer becomes the beer baron and starts selling illegal liquor and everything and making it out of his bathtub. That movie, now that one cracks me up. The movie was really good. I didn't think it was all that necessary in certain spots, but they were running out of ideas by that point. And they're still going strong, which is impressive, especially for an animated show. But hey, I am all for giving actors and voice actors, especially, a job. Especially the one that, like, especially in these times where they don't really need to be in the room, even though like the recording booth is a lot better, you know. But The Simpsons, it's been going strong since the 80s. I've been in love with the show ever since my parents didn't really want me to watch it, but they could tolerate it, unlike my aunt, who did not like it and did not like my other favorite show, South Park. She hated South Park. She heard the words "God damn it" once, and I was never allowed to watch it around her again. Which, fair. I mean, I get it, but this show's kind of running out of ideas too. Again, animated shows always do. But I think the Integrity Farms and what they're doing with connecting all the episodes together is a nice idea. It's a fresh idea. Instead of just like, what do little kids do? Okay, they play baseball. Okay, they fake Butter's death, or you know, my favorite one of all time is probably Christian Rock Hard, where they join a Christian rock band because growing up in a heavily Christian household, that would have been something they probably would have let me listen to. But like then again, they didn't really care all that much about that, even though I had to go to church a lot. And at one point, people just said, "You got demons in you." I'm like, "Demons aren't real," and I had to leave the room because we're not going to get into that. It's not this kind of show. South Park is that kind of show. It will poke fun at everything. It will poke fun at Mormons, Scientology. Everything is on the table. This is the George Carlin of animation. They say whatever they want. They do whatever they want. And I think every damn thing they make is funny. I loved the other, shows and the other, not every show that they produced, but every movie they've ever done, especially Orgasmo. A Mormon who gets kind of tricked into doing porn is just absolutely hilarious to me. I had no idea what a Mormon was, and then like that episode of all about Mormons and everything else around that, I learned, and Scientology and all that. And let's face it, most religions are crazy, and I tend to see them outside of what they are, because who knows, might be an alien. We don't know. We just kind of are conscious one day. Just like these guys in Third Rock from the Sun, which I will put my life on saying that it is probably the best sitcom ever to be produced, ever to be made, ever to be acted. It's definitely my favorite. Overall, it's basically just what if the Golden Girls were aliens, which I'm fine with. But the way they tackle humanity and humanity's problems while being absolutely irreverent and silly is fun. Like the ending was, all right, the last season kind of like started to do the thing that, that 70s show did in the first couple seasons. We're just like, we're doing this episode now. We're doing this episode now. Whereas like, I think they kind of peaked with 4. Season 4 was probably their peak, which is this one. It's probably my favorite season. First one and the fourth one are probably my favorite seasons. My favorite episode is the first season where Dick starts to smoke and he becomes addicted to smoking, and then he gets locked into a stairwell and starts going crazy and talking to himself and arguing and singing. And then Harry finds him, and by the third day, he heard his inner voice too. Well, he didn't understand it because he didn't speak French. I wish I did speak French. I do have French writing on my arm. C'est la vie, such is life. But, it is what it is. And this show made me appreciate that all much more. Things being what they are. The Trailer Park Boys. It's reality and it's surreal, which is pretty much how I see things. It's reality and it's, not. The first couple seasons, I didn't understand it for a long while. And then I bought the box set, and then I could not stop watching them. My friends, we would just come over, get begged to watch these episodes. One of my friends lived with me for a while, and all that whatnot. And that's what we would watch every single day when we go home. That and X-Files. Bubbles is a great character. He's probably the most honest out of all of them, which is kind of the point, because Julian, well, is a little more, I guess, like, Julian is blunt, but he's also very self-serving, but he also has a best friend that's Ricky, who's just a complete degenerate. And I know these people. These are my friends. You know, this put like my life into perspective, which is a weird thing to say about Trailer Park Boys. I didn't know Leahy all that much. Also, rest in peace, Mr. Leahy. Um, I, when he turned blue and him acting, like how he acted like he was drunk and he was completely sober. That man was a master of the screen who never really got much shine, in my opinion. So to kind of wrap this up, because it's going a little longer than I expected, but whatever, it's 20 minutes of my time. And your time. You can watch it, fast forward, that's cool. But I wanted to say, like, there's no perfect TV shows. There should be. And maybe I just haven't seen it yet. Some people would say Lost. I didn't like Lost. It's 200 episodes of they're in purgatory. I figured that out episode 1. But everything's not for everyone. And that is how I think about the Trailer Park Boys. Fantastic. Third Rock from the Sun. Fantastic. South Park. Also very fantastic. Again, some seasons are better than others. Just like The Simpsons. You're going to run into the ground with certain ideas the longer you go. Like Big Bang Theory. Oh, shiny. The Big Bang Theory, which, sure, admittedly, I started watching it about the time YouTube started in my life. I did used to, like, kind of post random shit to YouTube, but I'd have to go through my friend, and it all kind of just, like, they were old videos. I think they just got wiped off the site because we didn't archive it. We didn't care. Certain things I wish I could find, but whatever. Maybe I could hire the NCIS guys to find it, but I wasn't Navy, but I was military, so maybe they could help. Or take a thing, a box through space and time to Doctor Who. Like I said, my favorite ones are probably Matt Smith era storylines, but David Tennant is still my Doctor Who. Kind of like how Basil Rathbone will always be my Sherlock Holmes. You can put whoever you want in Sherlock Holmes. It's going to be Basil Rathbone in my head. Just like Monk, he could try to be Sherlock Holmes, or Elementary try to be Sherlock Holmes. Monk will always be Monk, and Basil Rathbone will always be Sherlock Holmes. But if you like Sherlock Holmes, Monk is an absolutely good substitute for it. Also, SpongeBob. All of SpongeBob, especially the early stuff, classic. All the stuff from the 90s that I grew up with. Courage the Cowardly Dog, Cat Dog, which doesn't really hold up. Animaniacs, which I heard got a reboot, or new episodes, whatever. Animaniacs, Dexter's Laboratory, all those cartoons. That is my childhood. This was later in my life, but this also put things into perspective for me. More or less when I was in high school, because this was my high school, essentially. I was Eric Foreman, but I was also Fez, and like the first season of all that. But I always wanted to be Hyde. I had a friend who was very close to being Hyde. But we're not those characters. And kind of like Tina, Donna's sister, she gets wiped from existence. Also, that happens in Married with Children. That happens. But they address that. Missing timelines and whatnot is because Kelly forgets them because she's an idiot. And there was a whole season where it was all a dream sequence. But that was because she was like the woman who voiced Leela, weirdly enough, Katie Seagal, great actress. Also in Sons of Anarchy, good show. Not all of it, but she was pregnant, and I think she lost a baby or something like that. So they had to like time wipe and whatever. It's fine. That show never got a final season. Strangely enough, as far as my research told me, um, it didn't have a chance to have a conclusion. I don't know how you would conclude it. Maybe Al Bundy owns the shoe store now, but you'd screw it up. That's how it is. This actually had a conclusion. It's about love, time, and it, it it's one of the best series if you've never seen it to ever be made, especially animation. I think in all the other things I said with animation, Futurama kicks its ass. Anyway, this is my collection. Also, Stargate Atlantis and Stargate SG-1 should be on this list too. Um, the first 8 seasons of Stargate, which is admittedly the series, and then there's 2 other series that kind of tack on when they started this, and I think it's a good series, but it's really only good once Jason Momoa, aka Aquaman, shows up, which is about season 2. Season 3 is probably the best season, but season 2, when like he gets introduced and certain characters kind of go away from the first one who were kind of annoying. Well, he's a good actor, but I didn't care for the character all that much. It wasn't very interesting. And they kind of noticed that, so they basically wrote in another Teal'c, and the rest is history. But there are other movies, the other times. Um, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Have a great day. There.